Hello, everyone. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty, and thanks for being here. I thought there was something else I needed to say after that, but I think that's it. This is Everything Under the Sun. um, Hope you all are doing well. This is the 10th episode, so I'm happy to say that this is, I guess, like, technically there are 10 uploads already because of the follow up episode, but this is the 10th full episode, so kind of exciting about that. That means, at least 10 weeks of doing this, which is a lot more than I thought I was going to do because I didn't really know exactly how far this was going to go and, what motivation I was going to have to continue doing it. So it's been good to kind of have this, and especially now, like it's good to have this to do, kind of planning certain episodes and just thinking about these things. I think it's a great thing to pass the time and to kind of also just engage with people in a way, even though there's not any engagement back. I'm going to be just talking at you, and that's engaging, hopefully. Anyway, yeah, but it's been good. I mean, this quarantine has been kind of weird, but also it's been not too bad. I think it was very difficult, and I think I'm happy to say this now because this is kind of over. But my roommate, I live with someone. Well, I live with two people actually, and one of my roommate's bosses actually tested positive for the coronavirus. So we were put on a 14-day quarantine type of thing. Well, technically it was just him, but we're living together, so obviously we're all in contact, and it'd be irresponsible for us to, if one person's on quarantine, it'd be kind of irresponsible for us to just kind of go out and be, lackadaisically doing whatever. I mean, people shouldn't be going out anyway, but still, like, just going to the grocery store and uh, doing things like that were definitely put on hold for that 14 days. And um, so it's been officially like 3 weeks. Yesterday was 3 weeks from when he came in contact with his boss, but it was a new update that we had found that there was a meeting on the Monday before Cesar Chavez Day, which was Monday the 30th, I think, that there was a meeting that he had that I guess there were seven out of like the 12 or 11 people that were in that meeting that tested positive. So it was then a 14-day quarantine from last contact from that meeting. So Tuesday, the 31st, was the first day of that quarantine, Cesar Chavez Day. And yesterday was the last day, so 14 days were all clear. I kind of had a scare. I thought I had the corona, and it was, I don't know, it was like I was freaking out because I'd gotten the news, and of course, you get the news that someone that close, gets this. So it was obviously very scary, but I started getting like this weird scare where I guess I started working out more, and I wasn't eating or drinking enough to compensate for that. Like, I kind of just kept my same diet and drinking habits as before I started working out. So I started working out more, and I started getting these headaches, and I was like getting dizzy and nauseous, and it was just the craziest thing. And I felt that I was getting a fever, and I didn't actually have a fever. I didn't check my temperature, and when I did check my temperature, it was 97.6. So it was perfectly fine. But it was just like that psychological aspect of it. And I realized, after like 2 or 3 days of having these weird headaches, and I kept working out and stuff like that, hoping that that was gonna prevent me from getting sick even more than I thought that I was already. But it was just adding to the problem because it was food and water that I needed. So I started just incorporating that more of my day, and then of course the headaches stopped, and I feel perfectly fine. So yesterday was in that 14-day period, and yeah, it feels good to not have contracted that. And I mean, we're not out of the woods yet, obviously. Like, as a world, people, we're still kind of dealing with this. But yeah, that was kind of, I feel like I'm kind of set free now. So it's kind of good, and it's been nice. I mean, yeah, the quarantine altogether has been pretty decent, and I guess it's kind of helped me to pretend that I'm going out. Like how like when things were before this time, the before time, when things were in the before time, and you'd get invited to go out with friends, and you'd like get ready, maybe you take a shower, and like you put on some music and you start getting ready, and then at the last minute you just decide to stay inside, and you're like, well, I'm just gonna stay in. So you take like a minute and 15 seconds to get undressed and hop into bed and put on Netflix and get all comfortable. So I've been doing that. I would kind of put some music on and get dressed as if I'm going out, and then pretend as if I'm just deciding not to go out and I stay in. But that's kind of been helping me, like tricking myself into thinking that I actually have a social life right now. But it's good. It helps. So anyway, enough about me. Enough about my coronavirus scares. Hope all of you are safe, and I know that it's affecting a lot more people. Family members passing away, and very people that are very close to us that are starting to be plagued by this, and it's starting to be very daunting that it's a lot more real. And I think that it's unfortunate, but I think this will hopefully keep people inside and make this. I mean, like whether you think this is conspiracy and all this other stuff, like it's a real disease that's happening. Like so, whether the things that are happening around it or behind the scenes is it's whatever that is. But what is very real is that this virus is spreading throughout the world and it's killing a lot of people. And I don't really care for the comparisons of the flu and all these other viruses because this virus isn't those aren't those viruses, and it's something that we have to really take into consideration. We can't really compare oranges to apples in that way. The only thing we can say is they're both fruit, they're both viruses, but they're still very different. So we have to take that into consideration and just do what we can to stay safe and keep each other safe and the people that we love. So and I also think about it this way. If you're not social distancing and you're around somebody's parents, then I bet there's someone around your parents or grandparents that aren't social distancing and you wouldn't want them to be around your grandparents or parents because obviously at-risk populations and things like that. So be mindful of yourself and the people that you're around because, also you could be attracting that attention towards family members of yours that somehow come across people that aren't social distancing themselves. So anyway, I'm not gonna go into that too much, but that's that. So I'm gonna get into this here, and there are a few topics that came my way, and I think that they're really great topics, and um, I'm just gonna list those before I do this box drawing. So the topics that were chosen were the topics that were given to me were toxic positivity, and this is a topic that was actually very new to me. I didn't really notice this was an actual topic. Like I kind of knew conceptually about this idea of toxic positivity, and that's just really the idea of kind of always saying everything's going to be all right, or kind of hey, just smile, it's going to be okay, kind of like diminishing the very real feelings that people have of being scared, of being frightened, of not being okay. And that's something that we do have to take into account. Like although we may want to spread positivity and spread like light heartedness into the world, we have to be kind of mindful not to kind of bulldoze someone else's emotions or someone else's experiences because they are very real and they're not going to just go away with a smile. So that has to be taken into consideration. So toxic positivity, that's going to be a really good topic. Um, and thank you so much for that topic. Astrology is going to be another topic. I know so many people are into astrology. When I moved to California, that was kind of I guess I kind of knew about astrology some before, but it wasn't until I moved to California that I was like, holy crap! There are a lot of people that really know about astrology, and something that kind of I'll save this story for that episode. But something that happened was that like it wasn't something I believed in very much, but then when I got here, there was an experience that I had where someone that didn't really know me kind of spoke about a depth within me that was just like holy shit, like this is kind of crazy. Like I guess I should look into this more and investigate this more. So that's going to be an interesting topic. I think it'll be like I guess a lighter topic in comparison to some of the things that have been spoken about, but the other topic is influence, and influence is something so big. It's something that we're all influenced by. It's part of our life in so many different ways. Whether it's someone else influencing us, whether it's an experience that's influencing us, a job, an emotion, whatever it is. Like these are all influences, and we're influenced in so many ways. So which ways can we benefit from this influence that seems to be so pervasive in our lives? And that's going to be a very interesting topic. And the last topic, I think maybe it's two topics, I'm not sure if I just wrote this down wrong, but judgment and forgiveness. And those are two topics that I think maybe can be topics of their own. So I probably put them in the box as topics of their own, but I'm not sure why I wrote them both down. But judgment and forgiveness are the last two topics, or last topic that was given. And I think this is also something that is very difficult because we all cast our judgments, and it's very difficult to forgive some of the things that we've experienced, some of the people that we've come into contact with. So that's a heavy topic, and it's going to be something that I think is going to require, I guess, a lot of thought to cultivate, like the words to express that, because, just even in beginning to think about forgiveness in many situations, it can be so challenging to even get to that point, to even consider it. So this is going to be a great topic. So again, toxic positivity, astrology, influence, judgment, and forgiveness are the topics that were put into the box. And it's going to shake this up, and we will see what the topic for next week is going to be. All this receipt paper. I'm running out of receipt paper since I'm going out less. Okay, privilege. Privilege is going to be the next topic, and oh wow, if that's not going to be a topic. I mean, there are so many things, and some people may have even done like activities, like privilege activities, those things where it's like, if you have this in your life, step forward, and people realize like, oh, like I've had a lot of step forwards in my life just because I've had this privilege. But it's so pervasive, so many privileges that we have that we may not even recognize that influence us in different ways, and sometimes we have to acknowledge those things because they create biases within us and things that kind of maybe even put on blinders for us to not even allow us to see how the privilege has influenced us in our lives. And I think a lot right now, like, we're, like I said before, we're joking a lot about social distancing, but there are a lot of people that are in their homes that, I mean, there are a lot of people that don't have homes that can't social distance. A lot of people that are in neighborhoods and countries that have high dense populations, and again, no place to go. So this is, like, that's a privilege in itself, but we're going to talk more about privileges because that is the topic for next week. So to get into this today, we are going to be talking about acknowledging and embracing strengths, which is a huge topic. It's something that is so big, and I think that it's something that not only can help us now in this time to start doing this, acknowledging and embracing these strengths, but something that is just good for our life in general, and I don't even like to say good, because, good connotates that there's bad, and I mean, I guess I can't always be different because we live in a world of duality, so there is good and bad, and, I guess some bad has to come with the good. But acknowledging and embracing strengths, I mean, a lot of that is going to deal with going to places and kind of shoveling out the dirt that has been covering up a lot of these strengths that you have, and a lot of these things that are remarkable within you that you haven't been able to notice or really hone in, because it's been covered up over the years by people and situations and things, and the blinding conformity of life that seems to put us into this box of not really embracing the things that really make us different. And those are our strengths, and those are the things that are so meaningful for us. And something that I found really amazing, this TED Talk, it was by a woman named Michelle L. Sullivan, and the title of the TED Talk is "Asking for Help is a Strength, Not a Weakness." And I think this is an amazing TED Talk, because she is an individual that has, you can see that she has a disability, but it doesn't mean that it's kept her from pursuing the things that she wants to pursue. And I think that, I mean, she speaks to like a lot more broader of a subject other than just her experiences and her struggles as she's gone through life, and her experiences with embracing, acknowledging that strength, and asking for help when it's needed. But also just how we as people need each other to support one another. And, sometimes asking for help is a great strength, and, it doesn't mean that you're relinquishing your help in any kind of way. It's actually something that's so powerful, and something that I did when I was as working as a therapist. My first session, and, like periodically throughout my sessions with clients, I would first off tell them how strong, like how much of a strength it was for them to even come into therapy, because asking for help is so difficult. I mean, like, even for me, asking for help is so difficult for like people to do in general. And it's something that we have to recognize, that if it's something that difficult for us to do, for someone to actually ask for help, that is an amazing strength. That is an amazing strength, and it's something that shows a strength not only in your courage to pursue the help that you feel that you need for yourself, but also to put aside all those things, all those reservations, all those things that are pushing back against you wanting to ask for help, and then going right past that and saying, you know what, I care more about myself. I need this for myself more. And whether that's you saying it consciously or subconsciously or just like something that's like moving you to ask for that help, it is a strength, because there are a lot of people that don't ask for help and don't get the chance to ask for help because of, life and circumstances that that cause them to not be able to. And I think that that's something that is so unfortunate in this world, is that we feel so withdrawn that we can't express our true selves, that we feel bad for expressing our true feelings, and that's not something that is right. It's not something that we should be doing, because we are humans and we are emotional, and we have complexities and experiences that make us different and that are valid, and we can't deny that from anyone else. And I think that that is something that is so important, and I think that's something that keeps us from asking for help in those situations, because how do you ask for help if you feel as though you can't even express yourself like in a normal way? You can't even express the slightest feeling of sadness. And I think that that's something that, I mean, like we spoke, I think we mentioned in the last episode about social media, about just how even individuals who post their true feelings on social media pages will get less responses than people that just posted a picture of their dog or puppy or something. It's like there is a societal type of move towards only embracing and only acknowledging the positives or the positive things that people are bringing. And I think that, I mean, it doesn't speak to that like people are bad or people who don't want to be supportive. I think it really speaks to the fact that it it hits people in a place where they are realizing that there's this feeling that's arising for them, this emotion that they don't want to go there. And it's not necessarily that they don't want to interact with you or engage with you or support you. I think it's more or less, the reflection of how we respond to it, and how we see that. And if it's going to a place that's too touchy for us, then I'm not gonna engage with that. I'm gonna engage with the puppy, because that goes to a part of me that helps me to be happy. And I think it's just an avoidance of the negativity that we have in ourselves and the things that we don't want to look at in ourselves, and that's why we don't want to interact with others, because it makes it more difficult. But I have found that, again, there is so much support and so much strength that is gained from asking for that help. And on social media pages, like on my Twitter page, like I follow so many mental health pages, and individuals speaking about that and having support in this way. And I think that is so amazing. And I hope that for everyone that engages and pursues with social media, or just people in general, is to know that it's okay to ask for help, and know that that's a strength, and that can start building more strength too, just in putting yourself out there and realizing that, hey, there is someone that understands that they can't understand me, and it's like that in itself is something that solidifies that value in what you're experiencing, and builds a strength in that way. So asking for help is not a weakness in any kind of way. If you feel like you need help, ask for help, and that is the biggest strength, because you're again going past all those things that are telling you or persuading you not to. And that's kind of what we need. We need to push back against those things, because they're not helping us to move forward. They're keeping us in that same place. And the biggest thing about this is that, like, strengths are there's something that is, I don't know, there's something deeper about strengths. And I think strengths is just a word that I think a lot of us are unable to wrap our head around or to truly identify, because it doesn't really encompass or encapsulate the real experience of what it is to have a strength. And I think the will to move through a day, the perseverance to continue to pursue something that all odds are saying, like, it's not going to happen, or people or even yourself are fighting against. It's something that's like deeper, that it's like that flame that's there, and no matter how faded out or diminished or filtered it gets, it's still there, and it drives us to move us to different places. It tells us when we're feeling complacent in a way, or we're feeling kind of stuck in a way, and that flame is our strength, like that realization that there's something more. I think there are so many strengths, and I think we have to really define them as the things that are building our character, because too often strengths are seen as just being like courage and physical strength, or mental strength, or whatever it is. It's like these strengths are so broadly defined that it doesn't really let each and every one of us identify the unique strengths within us. And I think that's something that's so important, because again, that flame is different for everyone, and it's something that needs to be noticed by you. And the biggest thing with that, and like I spoke about in the follow-up episode about courage and dreams, is, or like about dreams and fear, is that courage, you have to define that idea of courage, that the things that you feel are what make up courage in your mind, because that definition again is going to be different for everyone. The same thing with strengths, it's going to be different for everyone. And the best thing about coming up with the definition or defining these things for yourself is because you are going to pick the pieces, you're going to come up with the pieces and create the pieces of that attribute, or those attributes that will propel you specifically to the place that you want to be, because you're defining the strengths. Like what you define as being strength is maybe different from what others define as being strength, but both of you can still fly and prosper to amazing depths, because you're defining it as it relates to you, as it relates to your experiences, and who you are as a person. Your experiences, just like like they are unique to yours, and unique to you, and no one else may fully understand anything you're going through. Just as your experiences are that unique, our experiences of strength and courage and these attributes that move us through life, those are going to be very different as well. And we can't compare ourselves to other people. We can't put ourselves in the shoes of other people when we know that we can't do that in general. Like we always say, like, take a walk in this person's shoes, or try to take a walk in this person's shoes, but the only thing we can do is try to imagine, and even that imagery, or that imagination of what you think it might be, is still untrue, because you are not that person. And that is something that needs to be understood. We can't compare ourselves to other people in any way, because we're each different. And with that, we have to define our strengths differently. We have to define the things that are meaningful for us differently, because that's something that's for us. Just like you get a suit tailor made for you, it's tailor made for your body. You have to tailor make your internal experiences as well. And part of that is in that recognition, in that defining of that thing. Like, how can you acknowledge or embrace anything that you don't fully define? It's kind of like trying to color in a coloring book, but there are no edges, there are no lines to keep you, like to show you what's defining this character, or this image that you're trying to color in. It needs to be defined. There needs to be some kind of definition. There needs to be some kind of outline or boundary, and that boundary can be boundless. I mean, like, it sounds like a contradiction, but there are many things within our minds and idealistic views that like are very contradictory, but define it in some kind of way, and that, again, that definition can grow and expand, but start somewhere, and that starts with that definition that you create for yourself, that's meaningful for you. The next thing is obviously like acknowledging, and I think that acknowledging and embracing strengths is a topic, but I feel like defining it is kind of like the first step to even acknowledging and embracing them, because again, how would you acknowledge or embrace something that you don't really know is there, or you can't really define in any kind of way? So define it for yourself, realize what strength means to you, write it down. Something that is also really good, and something that is not to be taken, to take it with a grain of salt, is to write down what you feel your strengths are, or in defining what your strengths are, what you think strength is. Realize the attributes that you think that you have for yourself, or you feel that you have for yourself, and then ask a close friend or family member or someone that you trust to be honest and truthful, and will be there for you because they know that this is something that you truly want for yourself. Ask them to identify some strengths that they see in you, and oftentimes we'll see that there is an overlap. And I think the best thing that can happen is when there are things on those lists that are very different, because there are so many times when we recognize strengths that we have that we don't get to express to the world. They don't get to see that part of us because, again, like, there's this part of us that is so selective, where we feel as though we're only attracted to certain attributes, to certain things. So maybe sometimes we feel like our strengths are being stifled. Like we don't get to show people that we have strength in that way. So that is amazing. When you come up with a list for yourself that someone else doesn't notice, then embrace that. Like, that is amazing, because first off, you identified that. And secondly, like, it's something that it's kind of like it's more true to you because it's there, and I think it makes it more intimate, in a way that, like, it hasn't been expressed. But it can also be something that's very telling, where it's like, this hasn't been something that I've expressed to you, and therefore, like, that question just raises that new opportunity, that opens that new door to now expressing that a bit more if you want to, because maybe your strength is creative writing, and the stuff that you write is very intimate and you don't want to share that with people. That's perfectly fine, and then keep that to yourself. But it can be so enlightening to realize when you have a strength that you haven't really been able to show to other people, and it's a big part of you, like, that's something that's really big. And another big thing is when someone else comes up with a strength that you don't see in yourself, or that you didn't recognize within yourself. And a lot of times those are the ones that are most difficult for us to even hold on to, even to define as being part of something that we have within us, because it's difficult for us to, take compliments, and for us to take things as they are. And that's why I say, like, someone that you trust, that will be honest with you, because there are some times when, like, you feel like someone is down, so you want to say things to kind of make them feel better. But a lot of times what they truly want is you just to be there for them. And being there for them in this situation would be to just, give them their strengths as you see them. And a big thing about that is, if you see someone that has a list that is different than yours, and they have strengths that you haven't listed, ask them why. Like, ask them, what part of this strength do you see in me? And start realizing that there are strengths that you don't even recognize that you have, because those are the strengths that bring us connection. Those are the strengths that move us to places where we're like, how did we even get here? Like, it's those amazing strengths that somehow the world sees but we don't see in ourselves. And those are the ones I think that we have to hone into the most, because if the world can see us in this light, it means that our natural vibration, our natural energy is exuding this type of energy. It's exuding this strength. And if we hone in on something that's just oozing over like that, then that is going to be the greatest force that you can have with you, is this thing that you know that you just do naturally, and it's seen as a strength to other people. That's going to be something that will just propel you to, like, amazing places. So define that strength, and realize the things that maybe you're missing, or the things that you haven't really expressed within yourself or to other people, and allow that to further shape your journey as you go to acknowledge and embrace these things. And something with acknowledgement, and I wanted to kind of speak about this, because I feel like acknowledgement is something different than recognition. Because just like in a relationship, you can recognize that you're in a relationship, but if you're giving the person the cold shoulder, then you're not acknowledging them. And I think that we have, all acknowledgement, mental, physical acknowledgement, there are visible cues that we can have that acknowledge those things, where if you're speaking to someone, you're acknowledging them by giving them eye contact, by nodding your head. Even if you don't give eye contact or nod your head directly, maybe there's a crowd and you hear someone say your name, like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like saying your name. You don't see where they are, but, and you're in a rush or something, and you just like throw your hand up, like waving to them in the general direction that you heard the voice, but that's still acknowledging. So acknowledging is different than recognizing, because you can recognize that your name was called, but not acknowledge it or acknowledge them in any kind of way, by raising your hand. So it's very different. So we can recognize that we have strengths. So like all those strengths that you listed on paper, all the strengths that your family member or friend listed on paper, you can recognize, okay, yeah, these are strengths that I have, but are you actually acknowledging it? Are you giving it that attention, that mental eyesight, like a mental contact in that way, that mental wave? Are you giving it that true acknowledgement that says, like, this is a strength of mine, that me cultivate that in some way, that me start to move towards this a little bit more, and and even just acknowledging that in my day-to-day life, because maybe writing is a passion for yours and an amazing strength of yours, and you've been told this multiple times, or you felt this multiple times, but life kind of gets in your way in some ways, or uh, demotivates you from writing, because maybe work and school and other obligations that kind of keep you stressed, and when you get home you don't want to do anything, or maybe you've been home and you're just not feeling like picking up a pencil or even picking your head up out of bed. These are, I mean, take your time to take care of yourself, and do what you need to do. But as we move towards our strengths, as we move towards the things that are so strong within us, as we tend to that fire and that flame that's within us, it grows bigger, it grows stronger, it becomes part of the stuff that's oozing out, and it becomes part of us, and that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to take these experiences and the things that we begin understanding about ourselves, and make them whole, make them make sense within us, make them make sense within how we move and how we interact with other people, and bring some sense of connection and wholeness to us. And I think that that's something that we're constantly in the work for. We're constantly working towards that goal of filling ourselves, or kind of putting those pieces of the puzzle together to identify who we really are. And it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of patience, but as you do that, again, that image gets bigger, that flame gets bigger, and as we tend to the things and acknowledge the things that are strengths within us, that will grow bigger, and it will become something that's more secondhand. And as you begin acknowledging, the embracing kind of goes hand in hand, because that embracing it is allowing it to become something that's part of you. It's something that's no longer being shrouded away. It's not something that's no longer being pushed aside, or not acknowledged, because it hasn't been attended to. So now you're attending to it. Now it's becoming part of you, and now it's time for that, like, embracing of it. And sometimes that can be very difficult, because as you're acknowledging it, as you're putting your strengths out into the world, or as you're kind of honing onto them within yourself, there are going to be challenges, both from people outside of you, like others, and from yourself as well. The things that we try to pursue, the strengths that we have, they propel us in different parts of our lives, whether it's starting a family and being like an amazing parent, or going back to school, or pursuing a job, or some entrepreneurship, or whatever it is that you're pursuing. These are our strengths kind of going into play. Like, maybe it's something that we're afraid of, but we're still moving towards it, and that in itself is a strength. We're enacting this strength that's within us. But oftentimes, as we're acknowledging this, as we try to begin embracing this, we're going to face challenges from other people. Like, as you pursue some job, or as you pursue some education, or as you pursue some life venture, there are going to be obstacles that come into your way from other people, from other experiences, that are going to challenge you, that are going to essentially kind of be like life saying, is this really what you want? Is this really something that you are passionate about? And I think that passion is something that needs to go hand in hand as we exude these strengths, as we try to embrace these strengths, because that passion is going to be that motivating force to support the strengths that we have, and support our dreams and aspirations and things that we wish to achieve. That is something so critical. But others will constantly try to, put you down. Maybe you verbally telling you like that's not going to work, or that's a ridiculous idea, or it's going to be, just like in inconspicuous ways where you take in signals from the world and interpret it as something that's unmotivating or something that challenges those strengths. And that's kind of where that challenge from yourself comes in. We are, again, like, we can be one of our worst enemies, and that is one of the hardest things as we begin to try to develop ourselves into the person that we want to be, is that the person that's within us, the person that's within us that's been shaped by the outside world, by rejection, by denial, by all these things, that person is trying to fight against that person that is trying to move forward. And that is when we kind of have to realize, first off, we are all the same person, within ourselves. And that person that's fighting against our ideas and our ideals and our passions, that's the influence of the outside world. That's the influence of the things outside of you. Because again, if this is a passion of yours, if this is something you love and you care about and you really want to pursue, then what's stopping you? Like, if that passion was the only thing that was on your mind, then you'd be pursuing it. But it's these expectations, it's these things that are outside of you that are plaguing you and plaguing your own mind, tricking your own mind into thinking that, oh, that's a bad idea. And it didn't even have to come from the words of someone else. It came from your own mind. That is going to be the biggest challenge. And all of this stuff I'm saying is not like a 1, 2, 3 and then I got it, kind of thing. This is a work in progress. This is something that we are going to work every day in our lives towards, working towards, because our strengths change, our values change, our aspirations and dreams change constantly. And with that, we're changing. So it's something that we're going to have to constantly work with, but recognizing those things that are causing that dispute, that are causing those challenges, and think about it in a critical way. Like, when you recognize that these doubts are coming from outside of you, they're staying with you because there's part of you that feels some kind of validation in those denials. So you have to break that down. Why do I feel like this is not a valid thing? Maybe the market is saturated, for the business that you're trying to pursue. And that's a very valid reason where, like, people may be unmotivated to pursue something, but you, again, are unique. We are each very, very unique, and we have our own things to bring to the world. And what you have to ask yourself in that moment is, okay, the market is saturated. It could be very difficult to even have my name or my brand put out there. Does that combat? Does that equate to the passion that I have to actually pursue it? Does that diminish my strength that I have within myself, that I know I have within myself, to pursue those things that I want for myself? Compare and contrast, because those are the two people that are fighting within your mind. It's that person that's saying, this is what this is because of this external situation that I'm seeing, and this is what this is on the other side that I'm feeling within myself, that this flame is driving me towards, that my passions and my strengths are moving me towards. This is what I want. Now, we have to weigh those two and realize what's important. And if you are truly doing what's right for yourself and valuing yourself, then you will choose that side that is the flame that's within you. Because too often we turn away from that flame and we start tending to these external things. Again, like in the social obligations episode, we start tending to other people's needs and other things that are outside of us that aren't really speaking to who we truly are. And that's kind of where we kind of fall back onto that path of most traveled, like the path where a lot of people are on, like, moving. But the path less traveled has less people, and it also has more challenges because there aren't footsteps to guide you. There aren't signs to lead you in a certain place. It's a path less traveled for a reason, and you have to carve that path. But carving that path means delving into those strengths, like tending to that light that's within you, that fire that's within you, that flame that's driving you, and let that guide you. Let that be the signs. Let that be the motions and the movements. And if you come across a sand dune, then that is an obstacle, but you're going to need some more strength. You're going to need to build that motivation within yourself. You're going to have to tend to tend to that flame, and let yourself know that this is something that's so important that it will get me up and over that sand dune, and I know that by the end of this I will be happier because of it. And happiness isn't something that is meant to be constant, because if it was meant to be constant, then like why would we ever pursue anything more? If we were constantly in a state of happiness, like we would never strive towards anything. If we weren't challenged, then we would never move towards anything. We would never embrace strengths because we were constantly just happy and content with where we are. Happiness is something that we are meant to feel when we accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, or experience the things that are pleasing to us. But we also need those challenges. We also need those negative times to let us know that this isn't where I want to be. This isn't what I want to do. This isn't what I want to feel. And then we move towards that. But it starts with first recognizing and embracing those things within you that are going to propel you through those moments of joy and of sadness, of difficulty and of ease. It's a strength that, again, like, it moves through us through our entire lives. It changes throughout the entire lives, but we have to tend to it again through our entire lives. And again, it's work. But I mean, you give 40 hours a week to someone else that's making more money than you. Why not give some time to yourself? Because that's who you're going to be with. That's who you are always with, constantly, is yourself. So give 40 hours a week to yourself. And a lot of times, I mean, we're constantly with ourselves in our minds and in the way that we think. And if you live, like, if you have a job, like I had a job as a lifeguard, and of course, like, that's not the most prominent job or anything like that, but I had a job as a lifeguard once, and obviously, like, working as a therapist, I don't have that much time to think. But in jobs where we have kind of these moments of stillness, or these moments of, just being able to reflect on things, oftentimes our mind goes to, like, our favorite song or just some random thing that happened throughout the day. But if you actively start taking that time and saying, like, what do I want to do? Because a lot of times when our mind starts to wander, it's because we're bored. It's because we're not being engaged in a way that we want to be engaged. You're watching a movie or a show or something that you really like. You're like, holy shit, like, this is great. Like, you can't take your eyes off of it. You're going to pause it when you go to the bathroom. You watch a show that you don't really care about. It's on. Maybe you go make a sandwich and you don't pause at all. You go to the bathroom and come back. You don't really care about it. But it's the things that we care about, is things that we pay attention to, that are going to get that attention, and that are going to be the ones that, like, we have to strive more towards. So strive towards yourself, strive towards, like, paying attention to yourself, because you are a fucking interesting person, and you just have to realize that within yourself. And I think that that's kind of the beginning of how you recognize those strengths, is to just realize who you are as a person. And I think that a lot of times you will find a lot of beauty in there. So I'm gonna end it there, because I mean, I could continue talking about strengths for a bit longer, but I'm gonna end it there. And yeah, I hope this was something that was insightful in some kind of way. I've been working on trying to speak less fast. I don't know if you've noticed me kind of talking really fast and then slowing down dramatically, or giving more pauses. But I listened to a few of these recordings and realized I talk pretty fast sometimes, but I get riled up and I get passionate about certain things, and it just I just start running with it. But anyway, I hope you all have an amazing few weeks, or amazing week. I guess I'm going to be tuning in next week with the next episode. But yeah, hope you are staying safe and doing the best you can to stay sane throughout all this, and help each other out. There's Zoom, there's video chats, there's phone calls. We're in an age of technology where we can communicate with each other so much faster and so much easier than we have been before, and let's use that to our advantage. And although it's not the connection and communication that we would value, like, over being face to face with someone, I think it's like the best we can get right now. So hope you all enjoy. Again, the topic for next week is going to be privilege. It's going to be an amazing topic. If you have any ideas about privilege or thoughts on that, you can always email them along with topics to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to the Twitter page and start following, and that's @everysunpodcast, or you can go to Instagram, and that's everything.sunpodcast. and the Facebook group. You can join that as well. Everything Under the Sun with Ty. And that's all. Rate, review, subscribe. Helps so much with all the people. There's so many people that are doing amazing podcasts right now, like motivational things that are just helping out during quarantine, just so motivating. So especially, I mean, just anyone that you listen to podcasts for, rate, review, and subscribe highly for them. It's going to be something that helps them out, and also just like helps get the word out to people that may need that laughter in their life, or may need that insightful word, or that meditation hour. There's so many different podcasts out there, but yes, again, rate, review, subscribe. I love you all, and I will see you next time.